pursuit of happiness is going to keep you stuck because you're looking externally for a person, a situation, an identity to make you happy. And that will never, ever be achieved. Neuroscience backs that up. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Check it out. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Positivity Experience. It's your girl, Lori, and I'm excited that you are here. I've had a few of you reach out to me, new listeners. So, gosh, welcome. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate the shares. It actually does mean a lot. It really helps me keep moving and giving you guys as much information as I can. And I hope to give even more information into our next year. So just wanted to thank you for being here. That makes me happy, but doesn't make me happy because you are saying that. It makes me happy that you are finding benefit in it so you can achieve bigger and better things. So that's what makes me happy is purpose. Purpose is the best thing ever. Okay, so we're going to talk about that today. Over on Patreon, there is a worksheet for happiness. Now, this worksheet will compare very nicely into next week's worksheet because next week we're going to talk about your need to be right. And these two things really go hand in hand. That's why I'm doing them back to back. If you are interested in that, you can jump over to Patreon at patreon.com/the positivity experience. And subscribe there. So let's talk about it because happiness is a thing that we all strive for. You know, it's something in my practice when I have clients, a lot of you are my clients, regardless of where you are. You come to me because you want to be happy. You listen to this podcast because you want to be happy. You read books, you listen to other people's podcasts, you follow TikToks and groups to be happy. And that is the wrong reason to follow anybody. Okay. It's just like going to the gym to work out. You don't do that to lose weight. You don't eat healthier to lose weight. You do it for other reasons, and that's a byproduct. And happiness is no different. And neuroscience is going to back this up. This is not just an opinion. This is factually based in science. So it's extremely important for you to understand that. So let's talk about some harsh truths because you know that I'm the heavy hitter. The relentless pursuit of happiness, because you're constantly chasing it, is likely why you feel unfulfilled. Okay, think about that. Your constant chase is keeping you unfulfilled. Happiness is not something that you can chase. I mean, I guess you can, but it's not ever going to be something in which you can attain, just like perfectionism. Go ahead and keep chasing it. You're not going to get it. So that's going to create a lot of other issues that lie. And it's the natural result of leading a meaningful, purposeful life. And this will come from establishing your core values, which again, there's a podcast on that and a worksheet. Your core values are not your beliefs, and they are also not any kind of morals. They go to a deeper root on how you're living your life. Then these are your goals, right? These are your goals. These are your core values. And then you ask yourself, am I living my life and surrounding myself according to that? That is going to help you on this happiness journey because happiness is not a destination. It will never be a destination, nor will you have it all the time. So I think that's the other thing. Well, I just want to be happy. Okay, well, that's cool, but you're going to go in and out of that. That's a duality of life. You're not just going to be happy all the time, which is an unrealistic expectation which you have. So the harder you try to grasp happiness as an actual destination, the more elusive it's going to become. Right? It's going to be a big time right now for you to start to radically accept for that matter, that you can't aim for happiness. You just can't aim for happiness. Nope. Take that completely off your shelf, completely out of your mind for a moment. What you need to do is you need to aim for actions and practices. So think of the core values, actions and practices that cultivate that as a side effect. So think about what I said in the beginning. I'm so happy when you reach out and here you are, and I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy that you're here because one of my core values is acts of service, right? Providing value. So when you're like, oh my gosh, I get value out of it. I don't need that for my ego. That's cool. Fine. Thank you. Appreciate it. I don't need that. When you say you get value out of it, I look at that for you. I'm happy you're getting some value so you don't feel as stuck. That's not about my ego. That's about me being so happy that you are here to help yourself. And that's the big difference in the world. People want these accolades and these insecurities, and they're like, that makes me happy and that makes me happy. No, We are service-based human beings. That's just who we are. So if you're constantly looking at how you're gaining from this or the validation that you get, you are definitely not going to be happy. Now let's talk about the science. Because, we get real caught up in feelings, not facts. And there's a podcast coming out on that too. How you live in feelings and not facts. And that's a big issue for so many people. Because you're going off of feeling. It's a feeling state that is not facts, and they'll never be facts. So that's what keeps you stuck. So, and I always say this word, I think it's hedonic. I'm pretty sure it's hedonic. It's a Greek word, and we're going to talk about it again next week, but it's the hedonic treadmill effect. So think of a treadmill. You're on a treadmill. So your brain quickly adapts to new pleasures. Okay. You're like, I kind of like that. Like you're like, oh, this is kind of awesome. And it neutralizes the joy, okay, that you feel from external achievements. It neutralizes that joy from what you experience in external achievements. So think of this, a new car. I love getting a new car. You get a new car, you get a new promotion, you have a new relationship, got this house, and you're like, whoa, I am excited. My dopamine receptors are up. I am feeling freaking great. Yeah, but guess what? That as thrilling as that is in the beginning, you're like, yes, I love this. And you're on top of the moon. As thrilling as it is in the beginning, the excitement is going to fade. And this is going to cause you to seek the next high. So think about this. Have you or somebody you know ever said, man, I feel like I'm never happy, right? You're like, I think I will be happy if I'm lonely. I want to have a partner. Love that for you. You get the partner. Partner's fine. Partner's good. It's fine. This chase of happiness is also going to create this high level of relationship OCD where you start thinking, is there something better for me? Should I have a different relationship? Because now you're starting with the relationship OCD where you're worried about, are you missing out on something better? Why do you feel that way? Well, because you keep chasing this dopamine hit. Think about the first beginning of a relationship that you have. Oh my God, it's amazing. It is the best person. Maybe sex is amazing. You're spending time. You have the same belief system. Oh my God, we love it. And then a couple months later, it's okay. You're still fine. But that high of, oh my God, this is the best person I've ever had in my life. Blah, 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 blah. By the way, that's not love. That's never going to be love. So while you're up here, as that starts to decline, you're almost like, well, I got to get out of this relationship. And you're always going to chase that. So now you're in the relationship. Let's pretend you go with it. And you're going with it for a good amount of time. Now you're like, damn, I'd like to get engaged. I'd like to have the ring. Boom. Now you get engaged. You're like, yes. Oh my God, I love this. You're throwing engagement parties. Life is great. Now you're excited. Now you're like, love this. You have a date for the wedding. You're going on bachelorette parties and bachelor parties and everything is going and it's happy and it's exciting. Day comes, say you go on a honeymoon, that's done. Okay, it's cool. You're on the high a little bit and then, okay, well, now what? People move on, everybody goes on and you're, okay, cool. And even before then, you're dealing with bills, maybe you have kids, maybe you have all of those things, that joy is going to falter very quickly. And that's why you want to establish relationships and friendships and understand that communication is going to be your master key here. And then, so you get this, you have the kids, you do this, now you buy a house. I'm so excited. I got this house. I've always wanted this house. The best house I've ever had. You're building it from scratch. You plan the whole thing out. You move into the house. You love the house. But you start thinking, well, I think if we get another house, I think I need the kitchen to be a little bit better and I want it more. Okay, so now you're not excited. You're not happy anymore. So now you're like, fuck, okay, I don't like this anymore. And now it's something else. And now it's something else. And you're constantly chasing contentment and happy. You're never going to find it. If you're looking for the marriage, the job, the car, the house, the whatever, the kids, not going to sustain happiness. So this is where you're constantly on that chase. And that's called your dopamine reward circuits. You have these little dopamine. Man, dopamine will screw you all the time. That's why you get addicted to things, but that's why you get addicted to social media. That's why you do all this stuff. Oh my God, I need that dopamine hit. Okay, that's also why if you have, like me, I've struggled with binge eating most of my life, almost all my life. And it's almost that pleasure sensor of like, ooh, I need to fill it. I need to fill it. I need to fill it. And then it's like, it falls flat. So your dopamine that you're always chasing is going to be a big issue. So in neuroscience, because think about this, they study the brain. And in neuroscience, it shows that dopamine spikes, okay? When you anticipate, and this is why we constantly chase things. When you anticipate, so think of the anticipation. Oh my gosh, I'm going on a date. I'm so excited. Oh my God, you're so excited. You're like, I'm super duper happy. And let's say it's going to be a great date. Well, the date's there and you're happy you're on it, but it's not going to be the same high. Okay, so this is proven in psychological neuroscience. They study this. So when you anticipate a reward, not necessarily when you achieve it. See, that's the funniest thing. People are like, I need to achieve this. No, this is why the journey sometimes gets convoluted. So a chase for happiness often feels better than the feeling of getting it itself, because that's going to be fleeting. So you're constantly chasing something. Have you ever yourself or been on the other end or know people where it's the chase? It's the chase. Okay, somebody is like, you're kind of interested in somebody and they're kind of like aloof, they're kind of a little elusive and you're like, oh yeah, hi, how are you? And you're like, that's a challenge. Like why don't they, wait, I need to go all in on this. And I mean, you are going all in. You are like, you are showing up, you're doing all of these things. Pay me attention. Let me. Okay. So now the person goes, well, you know what? Yes, I love this. Let's go on a date. This is great. And you're like, yes, I love this. Well, now you start kind of hanging out. You're like, oh, well, okay. Well, that was fun. Let's do that again. So you're constantly chasing and chasing and chasing. So on top, that's why we're moving the goalpost, right? So you're constantly in the move of the goalpost. And when that excitement runs out, then what? So think of, I just watched the World Series and the Dodgers won over the Yankees. Oh my God, they were excited, right? Of course, you win you're it. You win the World Series. You're amazing. It's great. You're going to ride that high for a short period of time. NFL, golf, whatever. You're riding that high. You feel so good. And then it's great. Now you have the achievement, the rings, the jackets, or whatever it is you have. And you're like, yeah, I got it. Boom, boom. Well, guess what's happening? You think the Dodgers are like, cool. Well, that was good. Okay, we're done. No, you see it in the NFL. Chiefs can win one year. Let's say they stink up the joint the next year, right? That feeling goes away. So that's what I'm saying. That's the duality. If you constantly think that you're going to stay up here, you're going to constantly fall flat and feel depressed at a regular amount of time. So that's why people anticipate, and that's where that excitement is. So then when you achieve it, it's almost like, okay, well, that was fun. I need that again. So that's why things that are taboo and things and people that come into your life, in and out of your life, it can be so exciting until it is not. So if you're ever like, God, why am I always doing that? That's why. Okay. Now, the next thing, they're both Greek words here too, is eudaimonia. Oh my God, I cannot pronounce it. Eudaimonia. Okay, so think of this word. Think of eudaimonia. We're in Greece right now. And hedonia. They're two different types of happiness. Okay, studied neuroscience. This is two different types of happiness in which you experience. So happiness isn't just a blanket term. I want to be happy. Okay, no, that's really not what you're seeking. You just want organization. You don't want to feel overwhelmed. You want a financial freedom. Like, yes, but that's not on the level in which you're thinking. So in psychology, and this is how it differentiates in psychology between those two types of happiness. So I want you to think about this, because this is where we're constantly chasing some level of a dopamine hit. I mean, that's what we do in life now. Dopamine hit. I mean, serotonin, sure, but it's more based in a dopamine. It's like, woo, it's exciting, right? Like that's why we like sugar. That's why we love the taste of things, because it gives our brain this like, like I love this so much. So think about this. In hedonia, okay, it's pronounced hedonia or hedonia. That's pleasure-based things. Food, right? We love food. Vacations. You go on vacation, you're like, oh my God, this is great. Pleasure-based things. How does this feel? I am happy if I get a massage. I am happy if I get the da 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 da. I'm happy if I eat, like I said, food, big one for me. I'm happy if I scroll social media. You think you are, you're really not for that one. But so that's what hedonia is. So you can understand it from a psychology perspective. If you're like, oh my God, why do I love just vacations? I mean, of course, we all love a level of vacation, but when you're really focused on that, that's what that piece of it is. Yeah. Now, eudaimonia is the part that's really going to be the driving factor. Not that you shouldn't enjoy food, not that you shouldn't enjoy vacations. Love that. Like there's a place for both things. It's a duality. Life is always going to be a duality. It is never one direction. That's where you get caught up in the black and white, but there's a whole section of gray. Okay. Now that stems from meaning and purpose. Go back to your core values. Start to dive deep into what it is that you like, what it is that you want from your life, what purpose. Okay. Going back to what I said about the podcast. Thank you for being here. Da, da, da. Okay, good. I am so excited when you get something of it and you implement it. You can listen to it all damn day. It doesn't do shit for you if you're not going to use it. Right. So knowing and seeing it, and I see that a lot with my clients when they start putting things consistently into practice. That is a long-term goal for me to hold space for you. Nothing to do with me. Now, I'm the catalyst. I'm the driver of the car, so I will happily take that. But I'm not driving a car by myself. I'm not just going in an aimless direction so I can find happiness anywhere I go. No, that's why I said humans in general are service-based humans. We were born that way. Not people-pleasing. Two very different things. What value do you provide? What boundaries do you have? What's your foundation? Not making people happy. So let's go back to that example. I hold space for you to gain information for it. I provide you a resource. Here's your resource. I don't make you use it. If you use it, you do. If you don't, you don't. People pleasing is, oh my God, you got to do this. You must do this. It's going to make you feel better. No. Provide value, and then it's up to someone if they choose to take it. And that's at any part of your life. You don't have to have a podcast or do this as a profession. You don't have to do any of that. But that's why you want hedonia. Now again, you do want hedonia, but you also want eudaimonia. And that's your long-term purpose. So when you start going, oh my God, I don't know my purpose. I have no freaking idea about my purpose. Go back to all of these podcasts. I know some of you are on the Patreon and you know all of that has the worksheets there. Go back to those worksheets or go back to the podcast if you're just on here. Listen and go back to it again and listen and share it and listen and save it, but then execute it. You always need to listen more than one time. It's like reading a book or watching a movie. You ever watch a movie second time in a row and you're like, oh, I didn't even realize that. Oh, I understand the meaning now, right? Because you just look at it. So you got to remember what you're goaling for. Because those two types of happiness, there's a place for both of them, of course. But that's why chasing happiness is always going to make you unhappy. Because you keep thinking that there is this destination, this mecca, this I'm going to feel this way all the time. My dopamine receptors are going to be up. I'm going to be so excited to see my partner all the time. I'm going to be so excited to go to work all the time. You got to stop doing that. There is a duality in life. No, you're not going to live that way. There are times that you can be happy and uncomfortable at the same time. Yep. Not in a cognitive dissonance way. There is a space for both because that's what it is. You're afraid to be uncomfortable, but you're going to have to be uncomfortable in order to find that anyway. Now, the other piece of that, and this is a huge piece of this, you hear me talk about this on everything here, socials, everything. Expectation versus reality. And this, we'll tap into that a little bit next week on the ego trap of needing to be right. But expectations versus reality. And let me tell you, some people don't want to see it. Some people are like, I see no evil, I hear no evil, I speak no evil. I don't want to hear it because you're looking at it from an expectation perspective. Okay. Happiness as a goal means that every moment that you're not happy, let's say you wake up, you're a little depressed. You wake up, you do all of those things. Now suddenly it's not matching your expectations. So now you're a failure. Okay. This goes into perfectionism. Well, I don't understand. I was doing so good. I was great for the whole week. I was feeling kind of happy. Well, I didn't feel that way today. I should have. Well, look at me. I can't do shit right. So your expectation of this magical pill and solution of feeling happy all the time is going to create this high level of expectation, perfectionism, and now you're failing at everything you do, right? Because that's going to set it up. So if it feels like a failure, you have to remember that your expectations upon yourself. I just asked like 3 of my clients this week this question. I'm going to ask you the same thing. If, let's say, I don't know, you make a mistake. There's some mistake. It doesn't have to be super dramatic. It can be small. And then you're at home and you're ruminating on it. And you're like, oh my God, I did terrible, terrible, terrible. Okay. So if I propose that to you and I say, okay, well, what would you tell a friend, or what would you tell me, or what would you tell your younger self? And typically it isn't like a bunch of heaviness. They're like, well, I mean, I'd let them know that, it's okay. It's a mistake. And I'm like, okay, so why do you hold yourself to a different standard? Like, okay, so everyone is allowed to make mistakes and feel sad and not, have these moments, but you're not. Where's that logic? Okay, what are you rooting that in? So you're saying that you have to be happy all the time. But if your friend, your sister, or your inner child is kind of like, well, you know what? I'm a little sad today. I'm just a little disappointed in something. You're like, oh, okay, no, it's okay. Like, feel your feelings and just know it'll be better tomorrow. Not you. Oh, no, you're not going to give yourself that same grace. What the hell is wrong with you? Why do you feel this way? Why are you holding yourself to some high standard? Because in many ways, you're basically saying you hold yourself on this like pedestal without realizing you're doing it, because you're like, well, all of these people over here can make mistakes. They're allowed mistakes, but I'm not. Again, where's that logic? What are you basing that on? And when you answer that question, you know where you need to start to work in your healing process. Why do I feel that way? Okay, are you seeking some kind of attention? Are you seeking love? Are you seeking acceptance? Why do you feel as though you have to have that, right? So this is that spider web, and I do this with my clients a lot. Okay, this is what you think your why is. Like, I'm on YouTube, so I'm putting my hands above my head. This is what you think you're, okay, this is going to make me happy, or, this is what my problem is, and this is it. But there's a deeper layer and a deeper layer and a deeper layer. And that's why you get yourself all caught up in lack of patience. Because you're like, okay, I just want to learn meditation. Well, cool. But you're not just going to come off rip with a ruminating mind, constantly being angry with people, feeling the need to blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly you're just going to start meditating. That's unrealistic. Expectations versus reality doesn't work that way. People ask me this all the time. I'd like to start a Buddhist practice. I'm like, okay, well, how do I start a Buddhist practice? Well, first we want to research. Here's some books. You're right. I'll give you some books to read. And it's the concepts behind Buddhism and the practice of it, but on a more of a academic type level. And it's not just going to come off rip at being like, oh, peace, love, and happiness, and oh, yay. No. Everybody wants the chase of this happiness that does not exist, because if you're operating on a house of cards, the house of cards will collapse at any given time. Any given time. And this is where people struggle. This right here. Because you're chasing something that you think is going to make you happy, and it isn't. If you are looking externally for anything or any human to make you happy, you will stay unhappy. Because you're going in with this crazy expectation. Now, that's also called an external validation loop. It actually has a name in science. It's an external validation loop. So, I mean, it's kind of, I'm going to break it down, but I think you kind of understand that. External validation and then a loop. Think about getting on a little ruminating merry-go-round. So when you're chasing happiness through achievements, people, trust me, you see this a lot. Achievements, people, and, those possessions that you have, that's my validation to make me happy. That's going to lock you into a cycle of codependency. That's right. Because now anything that you can't control becomes a problem. Anything that you can't control creates this level of anxiety. Why? Because you're in that space where you are constantly thinking, I need to be happy. I need to be happy. I need to be happy. I need this job. I need this person. I need this Porsche. I need this big house. I need 900,000 million followers. For what? Why? I mean, it's great to build a community, but it is what it is. Now, from an influencer perspective, sure, vanity metrics of saying I have 10 million, followers or subscribers. Cool. First of all, 10 million subscribers and followers are not interacting with you. You're not that important that 10,000 people are just, 10 million people are just stopping what they're doing and going to engage with that. For what? Right? You can do that, or you can have 100 followers or people that you're engaging with that have meaning, that provide a service and value to you. It's a word of mouth. It all depends on what you're seeking and why you're seeking it. If I give you 10 million followers today, then what are you going to do? Well, what? Just because you have 10 million followers doesn't mean that you've got $10 million. Expectation versus reality. So in real life, I want 100 friends. No, you don't. You do not want 100 friends. You do not want 10 friends. You don't. There's a lot that comes with that. Now, what else does this do when you keep chasing happiness and you think happiness is this destination? This comes into a lot of things in life, okay? And that is avoidance. You are avoiding your negative emotions. That is correct. Because it's so much easier to chase something, just like it's so much easier to tell your sister how her relationship is shitty and she should get out of this relationship, but yet you are a clusterfuck within your own relationships and having these relationships. So it's real easy to try to fix somebody else when you're avoiding yourself because people don't like negative emotions. Again, duality. If you're not willing to face this is going to be a big problem. So the pursuit of happiness, and there was a movie, I think Will Smith was in that, but anyway, I think the pursuit of happiness makes it harder for you to deal with life's inevitable discomfort. You will feel uncomfortable. That is going to happen in your life. Wrap your head around that. I don't care if you like it. I don't care if you wrap your head around it. It's going to happen. Radical acceptance at its finest. Definitely everybody needs to go back and listen to the Radical Acceptance podcast. It's very important because things are going to be what they are, whether you like them or not. It really does not matter. They're going to be what it is. And if you see sadness and frustration as a failure, you're going to miss any opportunity for personal growth. Because personal growth means going forward, going backwards. This also happens a lot with my clients. It might happen with you as well. Let's say you read a book, you start practicing it. I mean, you are like, I have the tools. Like I'll give my clients tools, right? I have the tools. Oh my God, I love these tools. And then there's a setback because how else are you going to use the freaking tools, right? If I give you a hammer and you never use the hammer, what the hell is the hammer good for? That's that expectation versus reality of I'm on this growth journey. I should suddenly now somehow or another only go in a forward direction and only feel happiness. What? Why? So if you're always seeking that and you're always avoiding yourself because you don't want to deal with the discomfort, then you're going to look at everything as a failure. I was sad today. I didn't get everything. I didn't kill it out of the game. No, you didn't. Some days you're going to be at 98% and some days you're going to be at 38%. The goal is to average around 80%. But you're not going to get up every day and it's going to be hunky-dory. That's also not a failure. And that's why I said, if you have tools, you got to be put in a position to use them. If the days are going great, you're like, oh my God, I am acing this. Yeah, because you haven't had any aversion to trigger you to know that you can use these tools. So stop avoiding your triggers. That's another thing. Stop avoiding them. Stop avoiding your triggers. Those are highlights on the areas that you need to work on. So how can you shift, mindset here, how can you shift from happiness to meaning? Two different things. You're seeking meaning and you can have more than one meaning and more than one purpose. So people say, well, how do I find a purpose? Well, you find, okay, again, I'll use me as an example. I do this, but I have many purposes. Many. I go in different avenues within self-help and mental health. I have a lot of different avenues, but under one umbrella. So you can take one umbrella. Let's say it's going to be teaching. Well, you don't have to just say I'm a first grade teacher, right? You might teach Spanish. You might teach piano. You might teach people sewing. You might teach people baking. It doesn't matter. All of that's under the teaching umbrella. So Core Values podcast is going to help you Understand what your core values are, so then you can say, what is meaning for me? Am I living according to my core values? Am I living with those meanings? Because that's so important. Action over emotion. Oh my God. People react, not respond. They respond out of emotion on a daily basis, 100 million times a day, right? It's actions over emotions. You gotta focus on habits and routine that add meaning, even if they don't feel amazing in the moment. Okay, this is why self-discipline is always going to be at the forefront. Again, not at 100. You don't have to be at 100. But your self-discipline says, get up and do this because of the meaning it provides to me, so I can provide meaning to other things and other people. Okay? So you want to focus on habits and routines. Don't just check the box, be in the moment. Don't just do the yoga, be in the yoga. Don't just do the meditation, be in the meditation. Don't just do the 5 journals, be in the 5 journals. Staying mindful is going to help you so much to accept this piece of it. So much. This will help you. This will clear things for you. This will keep you grounded. This will keep you in a present space. Stop doing things to check a box. Well, I went for my walk today and I had my water. I'm so excited. Yeah, okay. Did you experience it or did you just do it? Because people check things off like a bucket list, and it's not what it is. People have a hard time staying in the present. We know this, and you're doing it with this idea. Acts of service. I already told you that. Acts of service. Learning or self-discipline may not bring you instant gratification or joy, but it will lead to long-term contentment and joy. Not right away. Nope. Sometimes you're going to have to sit there and you're like, this kind of sucks. It's not moving as fast as I'd like to. Why do I feel so bored? I feel bored. I don't like this. I think I'm going to change something else. Because that's your expectation versus reality. The reality is the shit's going to take time. Okay? It's going to take time. So if you're chasing something, you better stop. Because it's not going to give you the outcome in which you seek. You're chasing an unattainable subject. And you got to accept life's duality. You have to. I mean, I guess you don't have to, but then you're going to be miserable. Life's going to life with or without your approval. Life does not care if you like it or don't like it. Life is going to life. It's how you're going to respond to it. And I said happiness can coexist with discomfort. Trying to eliminate all those negative emotions, it's going to increase suffering. It is going to increase your suffering. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. You are doing this because you're creating this level of thinking it's got to go away. You're trying to get rid of your depression. You're trying to get rid of your negative thinking. You're trying to get rid. Stop doing that. Stop. Breathe. You got to remember, you got to accept the duality of life. This is so important. You have to remember that resilience comes from holding joy, allowing setbacks, because setbacks are going to be there. It's how you see them. You're looking at it as a roadblock or are you looking at a speed bump? How you see it is how you're going to live it. Right? That's the whole thing. Oh my God, this is terrible. Look at this big wall. Holy shit. Or, oh my gosh, look, it's uncomfortable. I guess I got to jump over this and try to swim through it. Okay. It is an obstacle. It is not a barrier. But in your head, it becomes a barrier. But these things are going to build emotional resilience. And that's so important for you. What are your daily intentions? If it's to be happy, that's no, we ain't going to do that. What are your daily intentions every day versus your grand goal? Yes, we like these goals as we strive towards it. We create SMART goals. We create micro goals. Of course, because you gotta have some level of direction, but that cannot be your daily intention. I'm going to lose those 30 pounds by next week. What? No, not going to happen. So here's the mindset. I'm going to give you a little bit of verbiage. We'll go deeper in it over on the worksheet in the Patreon, but how you see it is how you live it. Always remember this. So instead of saying, how can I be happy? How can I seek happy? What do I need to do to be happy? Ask yourself this. What actions, okay, so you're challenging yourself. What actions am I going to take today that aligns with my values? Got to know what your values are, so you better go back to your core values. But think about that in your mind. How can I be happy? Well, you can't if that's what you're seeking. Or how can I align? What action can I take that's going to help align me with what my values are today? So if, again, it's going to require you to stay present. It's going to require you to stay patient. It's going to require you to accept that that person, that job, that dollar sign is not going to make you happy because you're going to get the dopamine hit. It's exciting. Oh my God, I got $80 million. It's exciting. You love this. And then it's going to drop. Yes, even if you want $80 million, that dopamine is not going to remain. Because now you're going to worry about who do you have around you? Do they want me for my money? Where am I going to go? Oh my God. Why do you think that? Do you know how many lottery winners have killed themselves? It's literally a thing. Look it up. Because the money itself isn't going to make you happy. It might allow for some financial financial freedoms, but it isn't going to provide that. So that instant dopamine hit when you buy the thing, when you Amazon the thing on a smaller scale, it gives you that. But then what? Now you're always constantly going for it. So again, if you're constantly going for and seeking the happiness, you're not going to find it. So you want to ask yourself, what is the meaning? What do I want in my life? Not let me go establish what this purpose is. You can do that when you have core values. What value are you going to hold for yourself to live accordingly to? How can I be happy? Or what action can I take to help align me with my core value? No, you're not going to do it one day and be like, damn, I'm happy. No, you're going to go backwards. You're going to go forward. It might take a long time. And even then, as you're accomplishing it, it's still a wave. Because some of the things under those core values might change for you. Maybe at first it's like, you know what? I want to serve a purpose because I want to build Habitat for Humanity houses. I love that for you. But after a while, you're going to be like, well, now what can I provide? Like, what else can I provide for people? Right. Because that's what we do. We expand. So if you're thinking, well, if I build Habitat for Humanity houses, I'm going to be super duper happy. You'll have yes, but you're not going to live there. That idea of sustainability, it's not sustainable. So I think what you really got to ask yourself right now is, how do you want to feel that's going to align with purpose? Not how do you want to feel happy? What are your expectations? Are you willing to show up for yourself even when it's hard? Are you willing to accept the duality? Because it's a willingness, it's going to be what it is, that this is what it is. And maybe you do have to release people. Maybe you do have to get out of that job. Maybe you have to do things that do not align with you. Because there's not necessarily a scenario where you keep everything the same and then ta-da, we have happiness. No. You got to be willing to cut some losses. You got to be willing to take some risks, because you're not seeking happiness. You're seeking purpose. You're seeking meaning. So you got to ask yourself, what can I do to align with my values? But first you got to know what the freak they are, right? So that's where taking the time, you don't have to listen to the podcast and be like, well, here's my values. No, that might take a while. That might take months. It might take a year for you to establish. Pump your brakes. Be patient. Because it is attainable to be in a level of contentment while riding the wave of, wow, today was definitely not that day. But you know what? My mindset says I'm going to keep living that way. You keep living in the direction that is in alignment with you. And you will have good days. You will have bad days. And you'll have a million different other things. You will have relationships that will come. You will have relationships that will go. You are not attaching yourself to an outcome. So that is how you can start being happy. Check it out.